John gasped in a breathy manner as Sherlock flung open the doors to 221B, the walls reverberating from the sound of it. John placed his hands delicately over his fluttering heart as Sherlock stomped his way up the stairs, each thundering step making him jump wildly in his seat. With an equally breathy gasp, John clutched his laptop to his chest as Sherlock kicked open the door on the top of the stairs, enticing a whoa. John's eyes opened wide as he took the widely windswept land before him. Sherlock's hair was blown forward, making him look like a mysterious Pomeranian. That is the most arousing Pomeranian I have ever seen, John thought lustfully as he uncertainly lowered his laptop from his chest. "Hello, Sherlock," John all but whispered, his voice cracking in several places as he gulped loudly. Sherlock smirked crazily, which really isn't a good thing for a person to be doing. The top 6 buttons of his shirt unbuttoned as he stalked forward. Each step had a certain bounce to them, making him seem like Sherlock was skipping instead of walking. John had never been more aroused. Sherlock stopped directly in front of John, who tucked his knees into his chest and clutched the laptop in his hands like your mom does the last slice of pizza. Sherlock observed John predatorily, his blue-green-gray eyes smoldering as John looked up to him helplessly. "I would have babies with those eyes," John gushed mentally, a loud mental sigh following the thoughts. "Sherlock," John whined. "John," Sherlock crooned back, his voice silky and rasping as he turned his coat collar up with a ringing whip. John writhed slightly in his seat as he observed the scintillating thing occurring before him, his laptop clanged loudly on the floor as his hands fluttered up to his throat in shocked arousal. Sherlock grinned, his expression scandalously seductive. John writhed harder. With a deep, sonorous growl, Sherlock jerked John from a chair and hoisted him above his windswept head. John gave a gruff scream of displeasure and flailed his limbs in the most obscene and provocative ways. With a dramatic and absolutely fantastic twirl, Sherlock kicked the door behind him and closed before whisking him off to the bedroom. John still held aloft. John swooned momentarily as Sherlock bent the door to his manly will. He resumed the struggle shortly after, emitting a shrill, keening "ee." The sound was music to Sherlock's pale ears. Sherlock lobbed him unceremoniously onto the bed. However, Sherlock overshot, and John sailed into the wall, meeting it with a mighty thud. John's heart fluttered. Sherlock brushed his windswept hair out of his pallid face. "Sorry," he stopped and settled into a sumo squat. "I guess I don't know my own strength." John's man-carrot had never been more rigid. John undulated against the wall as Sherlock strode cockily over to where he sprawled and grabbed him by the elegantly arched foot. With a deafening whoop, Sherlock tossed John into the beautifully ruffled sheets. Sherlock purred smugly, John a certain swagger in his lope. Sherlock launched himself towards the bed, his coat flapping about him. John writhed against the sheets, his cock willy rock hard and dripping as Sherlock's elbow dug into his liver while he landed. John's back arched as Sherlock's knees battered his own painfully. "Sherlock," John tittered. "John," Sherlock wailed back erotically. With an ear-splitting growl, Sherlock mushed his lightly muscled thigh between John's nicely shaven knees, his own dong equally hard. John squirmed and undulated beneath Sherlock, his bit wreathing and wriggling. John moaned continually, the sound keening and unbroken as Sherlock slathered his face with spit-laced kisses. With a desperate wail, John dragged Sherlock's lip to his own, their tongues meeting in a carnal fight for dominance. John won after a long, hard, 18-minute battle. There was spit everywhere. So much spit. Losing his patience, Sherlock ripped off John's shirt, buttons flying everywhere as he turned those spit-laced kisses onto John's pert, vibrant nipples. Sherlock groaned appreciatively, his schlong throbbing with abandon as John sucked on the tip of his nose. He looked down at John through thick, luscious lashes. He could see the desperate, frenzied, unabashed need in those blueberry-colored eyes. Sherlock's loins ached. John knew what had to come, and wreathed with joy, his hips bucking erratically as Sherlock rustled about his coat pockets. Impatient with the pace Sherlock has set, John ripped off his own trousers, the fabric ripping with a sound incredibly similar to that of a toot. Sherlock paused his wrestling, his vibrant blue-green eyes meeting John's blueberry ones briefly. I didn't toot, John swore solemnly, blinking rapidly. Sherlock leaned in close to John's face and growled out seductively. I believe you. John swooned some more. When he came back into consciousness, it was to a loud, incredibly smug aha! As Sherlock withdrew the bottle of jam-flavored lube from his crazy pockets. John felt hot tears well in his eyes as he looked at Sherlock and wondered. You remembered, he whispered adoringly. Of course I did, Sherlock replied snidely, ripping his own pants off. Sherlock's willy was exquisite. John almost swooned, but managed to stop himself in time, although his stomach did explode with moths. Moths, not butterflies. Butterflies aren't manly enough. John's man carrot gave a painful throb as Sherlock slathered his junk with delicious goopy jam lube. Sherlock leered down at John, his cheekbones even more prominent than usual. I'm going to sex you now, John. He paused, his tongue flopping out to wet his plump lips. John watched the action rapidly. And I will keep my coat on, Sherlock purred into John's voluptuous ear, grabbing John's chiseled ankles as he did so. John screeched softly in response, his wiener dripping his love juice against the smooth, muscled planes of his tummy. It was Sherlock's turn to swoon, and he did. John watched smugly, letting out a victory whoop as Sherlock's eyelids fluttered everywhere. Sherlock's cheeks turned as red as crabs as he swayed uncertainly with embarrassment before positioning his winky at the opening of John's butt. John's victory whoop quickly turned into a whoop of raw, aching desire as he flopped his knees open elegantly as Sherlock's junk pressed against his butthole. Sherlock hissed gleefully. John gave a squeak of abject wonderment. Sherlock hissed some more as John's butt all but gobbled up his love muscle. John did some more undulating and wriggling. Sherlock had never seen a more erotically enticing sight in his life, which is saying something, because he's seen a lot of erotic things. Sherlock leaned in close to John's luscious ear, whispering seductively, John, I'm inside you. Sherlock paused dramatically. With my Dickweenie. Sherlock finished with flourish. John couldn't help himself. He swooned, and he swooned hard. He swooned so hard he came with a screeching wail and accidentally punched Sherlock in his smug, beautiful face, cutting his hand in the process. Sherlock grinned smugly before flopping forward and rubbing his chest into John's love juice, splooging with a screech of his own as they wreathed and wriggled and undulated as one. John found the agonizingly erotic sight of his love juice on Sherlock's chest so erotic he jizzed twice. All sweaty and gross and covered in spunk, they fell asleep. Sherlock morphing into John's side as they fell asleep. Sherlock was smug. A John Sherlock fanfiction by Moriarty.